Ladies and gents, the new patch has been released, and there's a few sneaky things they've slid in over the Christmas period that you won't be aware of that I think it needs to be talked about, because these changes can impact how you are going to be playing the game. So first of all, I think the first thing to look at is open those patch notes, scroll to the bottom, and I want to look at the UI stuff here. So the improved tank tree tech layout. So this is going to blow you away. Are you prepared for this? Are you sat down? Watch this. Boom. That's right. Instead of armor being on the right and engines being on the left, we now have it condensed on the left. Ah, amazing. Okay, there are a few other changes other than that. We no longer get 1934 or 1936 medium tanks. Medium tanks now have been shifted forward. I kind of like to know kind of more historical context of why this actually is. But it's interesting now that medium tanks now have been shifted to a more future tech. And it kind of makes sense in a way. So we look at the 1936 Light 2 compared to the medium 1. You can see we've got 15 armor on the light and 35 armor on the medium. So to be fair, the stats now kind of make more sense, you know? Because to be fair, the medium 1 was way OP compared to the light 1. They have also slightly tweaked the amphibious tank as well. The amphibious tank used to be in the middle, and now it's been moved to the left, and it's a branch off of the light 2. This is interesting because the amphibious tank was kind of sat in this weird middle ground in the center, and you kind of like, whenever would you ever go for that? But at least now, if you're going on the light tank branch, you kind of beeline to the amphibious. So it's kind of difficult now if you want to, like, say, have an amphibious heavy tank, because you have to branch down the right side, and then also go on the left side of the light tank before you get the amphibious drive. And if you're not aware, the amphibious chassis is like a dedicated amphibious tank, where the amphibious drive changes the kind of tank of the other chassis towards an amphibious tank. The downside is it makes the production cost go up and the reliability drop. I never made the amphibious tank before. I never actually made this boy before. Look how big it is. It's huge. I always just jump to the amphibious drive, and then I have more control of what tank I want to put in. There is kind of a meta at the moment with amphibious tanks, where you make an amphibious tank with an anti-air gun in it. So what you can do is get yourself the heavy 1, basic heavy tank. You pop in an amphibious drive, mark it as amphibious, you lose some breakthrough, but you also reduce the supply usage, which is convenient. Oh, and surprisingly, you can still use the big turrets. But what they've done is they've made the amphibious chassis only compatible with light turrets now. Technically, it's a light tank, basically. I know it's kind of strange that too, because in World War II, there were some medium tanks that were amphibious. So it kind of seems strange that you're locked into a light tank amphibious. Anyway, regardless, you can customize this as much as you want, but you're not allowed anything bigger than a light turret. But the truth is, you would go for this, add the amphibious drive. But the little meta thing to do here, I showed this off in a previous video. Can you still do it? You can add on an improved anti-air gun. So what you've got here is a tank that has lots of breakthrough, which would usually lose the breakthrough if you make it a dedicated anti-air tank. But with this, you get the bonus of it does like great amphibious damage, it has anti-air capabilities, and it has decent armor and breakthrough. It basically is a tank that does everything. The only downside to it is it's a little bit expensive because it's amphibious, and secondly, the soft attack isn't that great. So if you want a tank that's going to do soft attack, this isn't the one for you, but it does everything else really, 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 really good. So that meta is still an opportunity. To be fair, though, was that even an exploit? I don't know. Debate in the chats. Debate in the comments below. Oh, something else someone in my chat said as well is amphibious tanks, whether it's the amphibious chassis or you've converted it to an amphibious tank by using the amphibious drive, these are classed as special forces. Now, I could be wrong about this. I don't want to say this out loud because I could be wrong because I've not tested it. But this tank is classed as a special forces, so therefore it takes advantage of the special forces bonuses. So that would mean if you're playing as the UK, you get to take advantage of the special air service, which gives you a massive 20% attack bonus and 20% defense bonus. New variants received from auto upgrades, focuses and events, etc. are now highlighted in the production tab like variants received from research. I presume it's talking about this little icon here, and it tells you why it isn't usable, and it's because it's missing a gun. So I mentioned in the previous video, if you want to check that video out, it's like somewhere up here. Click that video and it'll go through the breakdown of some of these tank design changes, and there's some really good spicy ones in there. However, they did add on a few tweaks. Here we go. Dive brakes are no longer valid for naval bombers. Increase naval targeting from dive brakes from 4 to 6. So there was a way you could add on dive brakes for random planes, but I don't think it would even give you a benefit because it was only if they were on certain missions. Dive brakes no longer valid with the naval bomber weapons, torpedoes, and guided missiles. Once again, did that even benefit you back in the day? So if I was to make a naval airframe, could I even add on dive brakes? Oh, yeah, you could. Yes, you could. Oh, and then they're saying that that wasn't meant to be the case. This would give you extra naval targeting. So what they've done here, guys, is they've nerfed naval bomber spam meta. So if you weren't aware, in the olden days, a German player would get air superiority over the English channel just by spamming 3,000 fighters, and then would start spamming naval bombers and start striking the English channel, resulting in you getting naval supremacy and then doing your little sea line into the UK. I think what they've done now is they made naval bombers significantly weaker at targeting, so they're less likely to hit targets, so therefore less likely to be as effective. That's a decent nerf, actually. I'm not sure how big it is. We'll have to do some testing. Carrier naval strike multiplier increased, reduced naval strike detection chance from 0.7 to 0.5, and it reduced the carrier disruption factor from 8 till 6. I'm going to presume this is based on actual naval combat and not like using the carrier as like a mobile airbase. I'm going to take a guess at that. So reducing the detection means it's less likely to find targets, but at the same time, they're less likely to be disrupted when they're on actual and active participating mission. It's hard to see how that's going to affect the actual game. There was a video that 71 Cloak made talking about how carriers were really OP at the moment. Maybe this is a slight nerf to carriers. It's hard to say, but some of these changes are only very small anyway, like a 20% nerf. One other note I did notice here, there's something I missed on the previous patch review, was it mentions it changed Stalin paranoia system. Stalin's AI should now be more inclined to kill Trotsky. I don't think it was ever meant to do that, was it? Fixed all events relating to Stalin's paranoia. Value was always 0. I think some of the events that you got popped up during the Purge were really confusing because it's like, it says like, oh, you gain paranoia. Okay. Then you get an event that fires really straight after it. And then it'll say it'll reduce the paranoia. It was so confusing. I think that's the reason why a lot of people don't like the Soviet Union, because I feel like this is so much pop-up spam, and having no control of who gets purged in the Great Purge is kind of frustrating. I think one of the issues I find is a lack of feedback when someone gets purged. So you load up as the Soviet Union, I'll just show you now, and you want to play a game of the Soviet Union, but the problem is you don't know who's going to get purged. You have no idea. I find it frustrating when you come into the political advisor screen. Like, okay, so this guy's in jail, but he needs a national focus to get out of jail. Okay, some of these guys have died. Some of these guys are going to get purged. Who's going to get purged? I feel like there's so many ifs, buts, and maybes. It's really hard to select an advisor. You've got to like dig into the tooltips a little bit too heavily to actually find out who I should be selecting anyway. I feel like the only safe way as the Soviet Union to select advisors is to wait for the Great Purge to end and then pick the remaining advisors. Otherwise, it's just not worth your time, because you might pick someone who ends up dying and you don't get the refund on the political power. It's a really hard system. There needs to be filters at the top here, basically saying remove people who I can't select, because a lot of the time you run into this and you scroll down here and it's a little bit intimidating, you know? It's like so many advisors, but half of them I can't select and I don't know why. And also what's really frustrating is when you get an event pop up saying, oh, this is a purge event. Okay, that's great. It gives you a lot of feedback on what a purge event is. But then when someone actually gets purged, it's kind of hard to tell who got purged, because you have to hop into this menu, look at the paranoia system. It's just really difficult to read, because when you purge someone, it's kind of hard to know who you got purged, because I can't hover over this guy and see who he was. And then you got kind of a big X through him. So it's kind of like hard to see who was this guy that got purged. I don't know. It's really difficult to keep track of who's actually got purged and who is actually a part of your army that you can actually select. I just think it's a little bit confusing. It'd be cool if there were filters at the top, though, just to remove people you can't actually select. I suppose the truth behind it is it all depends on what path you choose to go down, because we've gone down the path of Marxist-Leninism and then the center. We've narrowed down the amount of people we can select severely, so therefore the options are more limited. I don't understand why I've got the option here for a democratic reformer when I can never ever go down that path anyway. So why are you even here? You're never selectable to me ever, because I've already ruled you out based on the path that I've gone down. Okay, so I don't like just to criticize someone, have a good moan. I like to actually say how the system could be improved. If you could hover over these guys and it give you like a breakdown of who they are, that'd be kind of nice. Like, you know, the simple way you hover over these guys and it tells you all this information about what they were and what they did and what they represented. That'd be kind of cool, I suppose, so that you can actually see who you did actually purge. That'd be kind of cool. And whenever someone does get purged, maybe there's a separate pop-up that actually happens and it says this individual has been purged. I suppose when you dig into the tooltips, you have the option to see that. It's just sometimes a little bit difficult to see. I suppose Paradox aren't saying the words like send to gulag or gets executed or gets murdered or gets ice pick in the back, because they want to downplay some of the more aggressive wording, aren't they? So they'll just say this individual was purged, you know. It'd be kind of cool though if you actually got a prompt to say this advisor is no longer available, and then you can actually see by hovering over these guys who actually got purged. But otherwise, it's kind of like, I mean, there's been a few times I've played a game, I've selected my advisors, and I can't remember what it led to now. Maybe it was the old system, not the new system. I ended up purging them and they disappear, and then I don't get the political power back. And that's just kind of annoying, I suppose. Hey, that's my suggestions anyway. Those aren't big suggestions, but it's just something to note. So someone spotted here that it says in the code that Engine 2 and Armor 2 are 1938 tech. However, in game, they're 1936. Yeah, that's a bug. That's a bug. Okay. Yeah, it makes sense that actually. It's a bit strange that you can research basic armor protection and improved armor protection at the very start of the game. It makes more sense that that's 1939 tech. It will change how you make tanks though, which is really cool. I like it when you upgrade these armor techs and you get a new module. I wish there was a module for this one too, and this one too. And maybe the engines unlocked modules as well. That'd be kind of cool. I feel like these little patches feel like really nice freebies to the community, and it feels like they're really giving back PDX. So that's really cool. I'm glad these are a thing. Have you played this patch? Are you enjoying this patch? Is there anything that could be improved upon? Let me know in the comments below. Hey, and check out this video out. This is part 2. Check this out. This will be a video you enjoy. I'll see you guys soon.